call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Reverend David Barber from the First Congregational Church in Fort Worth. Reverend Barber, thank you very much for coming out today. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
May we join our hearts in prayer. God, we know that you teach us to love one another. Indeed, our traditions teach us that you are love. But deep down we know something else. It is that love without justice is not love at all. You teach us, too, that justice is not about reward and punishment, but about right relationship, our relationship with you and with each other in community. So economic justice demands that all share in the abundance of our community. Gender justice requires that people be treated equally and with care, whatever their gender, whatever their sexual orientation, whatever their marital status. Ecological justice calls us to acknowledge that we share this planet with a marvelous array of creatures you have made, that we do not own it, and that we are not free to destroy it. We ask you today, gracious God, that together we may become a more just, caring, and finally loving community. And we ask that you bless the workings of this court to that end. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you again, Reverend Barber, for coming out today. Appreciate it. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements?
Your Honor, we have no announcements at this time.
Well, it's getting to be a habit with you.
What? Wait a minute.
This is the second week in a row. He did this last week, and I said,
Well, I was in Corpus last week at the Judges and Commissioners statewide conference, but did he make an announcement about how his team did in the
no.
county golf?
He was very quiet about that.
Well, I'd like to know what score they had.
I won a $15 gift certificate to Chili's on that.
Was that the last place team?
No, actually, we shot a 57 or 67
Or 77.
or 77.
One of them things ended in 7.
We almost won it.
97.
I just felt that we needed to get a report on that.
Well, he was very quiet about that last week.
He doesn't play well in the rain.
Well, he played better in the sun?
I think so.
From what I've heard, he's still having trouble. He switched from right-handed to left-handed golf, and he's still having trouble getting across the ladies' tee box.
That's a low blow.
Well, I thought I might better.
Appreciate that report.
We do not have any further announcements this morning.
Thank you. Board members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of October the 6th.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have several proclamations and resolutions this morning. The first is a resolution regarding the 10th anniversary of our Tarrant County Juvenile Drug Court program. And I will read the resolution into the record, and I believe Greg Sumner is here. Is Greg, come on down. Bring the folks with you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Greg.
Whereas 2009 marks the 20th anniversary of the Miami-Dade Drug Court, the first drug court in the nation, which sparked a revolution that changed the face of American justice system. And whereas for the past 20 years, drug courts have been restoring lives, reuniting families, and making communities across this nation safer, growing from the original court in Florida to 2,301 operational drug courts and 3,410 problem-solving courts by December 2008. And whereas drug courts provide focus and leadership for community-wide partnerships, bringing together public safety and public health professionals in the fight against drug abuse and criminality, and whereas results of more than 100 program evaluations and at least 4 meta-analytic studies have yielded definitive evidence that drug courts are demonstratively effective and significantly improve substance abuse treatment outcomes, substantially reducing drug abuse and crime, and do so at less expense than any other justice strategy. And whereas the judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys, treatment providers, researchers, educators, community leaders, and probation personnel dedicated to the movement have made a profound impact through their hard work and their commitment to their communities. And whereas in March 1999, Tarrant County Juvenile Services began the first juvenile drug court in Texas, and since then, approximately 1,300 young people, over 80% who entered the program, have successfully completed the juvenile drug court program, with less than 10% of those graduates ever returning with a juvenile referral 2 years past graduation. And that's excellent. And whereas the year 2009 marks the 10th anniversary of drug court's operation in Tarrant County, as a part of the continuum of services within Tarrant County Juvenile Services, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby commend the Tarrant County Juvenile Services Drug Court for their 10 years of outstanding and dedicated service to Tarrant County, its citizens, and its children. In witness whereof, we've heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 13th day of October, 2009. I'll move its approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Come down there and present this. Take out a picture.
Just want to thank the commissioners for their commitment and Tarrant County for their commitment to the Tarrant County Juvenile Services and our juvenile drug court. We've had the opportunity primarily through grants the last couple of years to go to some national and some statewide training, and we believe we have one of the best programs in the country, really. And so we appreciate you guys' commitment to us and invite you to a celebration event which will occur on 10/15/2009 from 5 to 7. It's a drop-in, so we're going to have some of the young people who are involved in the drug court program just celebrating the 10 years that we've been in service. Thank you.
This is a program that I remember starting, that we started as a court in '99, and it's good to be here when you see some of these things kind of roll around, and you can look back and see the impact that some of these things have made. So we appreciate y'all coming out today. Lynn, we appreciate you being here also. Next is a proclamation for the First United Methodist Church of Crowley's Lord Acre Harvest Festival celebration. Commissioner Brooks.
This proclamation has already been presented. It was a great celebration. I move ratification of
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have a proclamation by Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor, if you would read that into the record, please.
For White Cane Day, whereas the white cane was introduced in the United States in 1930 by a member of the Lions Club International, and whereas the white cane and guide dogs are universally known as identifying symbols of blind and visually impaired, providing them with the tools for greater mobility and independence, and whereas for the sighted, the white cane and the dog are reminders to respond with respect and courtesy to individuals using them, and whereas for all of us, they are reminders of our commitment to removing barriers, both physically and perceptual, that prevent people who are blind from reaching their full potential. And whereas the blind community has come together to promote awareness of the independence and contributions that individuals who are blind make to the social and economic life of our community. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do proclaim October 13th, 2009 as White Cane Day in Tarrant County, and urge all citizens to join in promoting independent travel and full participation of all of us in every aspect of life. In witness whereof, we have heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 13th day of October 2009.
I'd move for its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
We have Ginger Kraft and Alan Cole with American Council of the Blind and Clayton Meisner, Lions Club, from the Lions Club, to accept this award, and I think there may be one other that I missed.
Gene Russell from the American Council of the Blind.
Gene Russell. So if y'all would meet me at the podium, please. I'd like to present this to you. I understand that you might have had a little ceremony over courthouse before court today, but thank you very much for being here, and anybody that wants to make a comment. Jimmy?
Commissioner, they will take a picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking fine.
All right. Thumbs up. Thank you very much.
I just want to thank the County Commissioners Court for doing this for us. We really appreciate it. We became involved with the Commissioners Court back in January for our Braille Awareness Day, and y'all were kind enough to give us a proclamation for that day as well, particularly to Commissioner J.D. Johnson. And I cannot leave without thanking Steve Townsend from his office, who has worked very hard with us and is very much aware of our issues. So thank you so much, and we appreciate this very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Again, I think we need to recognize the Lions Clubs for everything they do, not only in this particular area, but also in eyeglass frames and in so many different things. We appreciate that. I know our county clerk is very involved in the Lions Clubs and has worked very hard in that. So thank you all again for being out here today.
And I'm privileged to have been a member of the Lions Club for many years. Happens to be the River Oaks Lions Club, too. Alan? Yes, sir. If I could ask y'all, it appears that we have made a typo error. Your plaque says May of 2009. It should say October. If you would leave that here, we'll get that corrected, and we'll get that back to you.
It's the very last, I think it's, check at the bottom there, does it?
Right at
Okay,
the
it's
bottom.
at the very bottom.
We'll get it corrected, and I'll get it to y'all.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you, GK.
Next, I would like to call on Betsy Price to come down. Betsy's the Vice President of Tax Leadership Foundation and has a couple of awards or recognition to make at this point in time.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to be with you today on behalf of Tax Leadership Foundation. I'm Vice President.
And TAC is what?
And TAC is, thank you, Roy, the Texas Association of Counties, and it is in Austin. And the Leadership Foundation was founded 9 years ago to recognize emerging county leaders and to recognize programs. And I think Commissioner Johnson was part of that founding group, and then I've been privileged to serve on it the last 8 years. With me today, I wanted to say a few words, but with me today is Victor Uvalde also. And Victor is our interim field rep from the Texas Association of Counties for Tarrant County.
Good morning. Good morning. Be here. Glad to be here.
We're going to say just a couple of words about these two award-winning programs, and then we have a short video, and we'll call up our winners today. Tarrant County, as you know, has won at least 10 or 12 of these awards. I've kind of lost count. We are the pilot, the model for everybody because we do it right here in Tarrant County. And the first year that we won, I was on the committee to judge, obviously didn't get to judge my own, but the notebook I was given was about 1.5 inches thick to read applications. This year, they delivered for me to read 2 of these. This is how many there were, and there were only 20 winners picked in the state, and Tarrant County has 2 of those 20 winners. My other notebook, this program is so cool because you can replicate these programs so often in your own office. My other one has been loaned out to my department, and they are busy stealing ideas from people who submitted theirs. But it's just a wonderful program. We're really proud of it. The 2 that Tarrant County won today are both in this category of delivery of service, one for judicial services in JP1, Judge Swearington's court, for its pretrial release mediation program. And then the second one is for Health and Human Services under Marion Ross for its educational money management program geared towards non-custodial parents. And I think that Mr. Duff has queued up a couple of videos if y'all would like to see these. They're very brief.
Programs that provide an enhanced...
That one was real brief.
That one was very brave.
The Texas Association of Counties Leadership Foundation presents the 2009 Best Practices Awards, celebrating delivery of services in county government. Delivery of Services Awards honor programs that provide an enhanced level of service that exceeds established performance standards.
Good morning to you all. You're here today as a result of a notice that you received called Notice of Pretrial Mediation. Your file was reviewed by a member of my court staff and at least one mediator, and it was determined that your case is a good candidate for mediation.
Tarrant County's innovative in-court mediation program allows citizens to have their day in court faster and more easily.
Instead of the traditional 10 or 12 cases that you might be able to resolve or have disposition of face-to-face in court, mine is anywhere from 50 to 100 cases per week.
In-court mediation also provides a higher rate of satisfaction with the results and so fewer appeals.
When you have 85% of your cases settled through mediation, people are reaching their own resolution and they're agreeing to that, then they're less likely to want to appeal that case. The unique and the good thing about this is that not only do I have mediators here in court that day, but it's at no cost to the counties. It puts everybody in the same playing field, and it seems to be very successful.
And I believe Jim is going to show the other one, and then we'll call both our winners up at one time. We'll tell you before as he's starting that one, that both of these programs, the committee was about 15 people who read these. They were just blown away by these, and the comments from several of them were, count on Tarrant County to come up with something that saves money for their taxpayers. And that made me just, want to strut on behalf of the county.
You might also mention, just for the record, the president of the Texas Association of Counties.
Yes, the president of the Texas Association of Counties is our own J.D. Johnson. Very proud to serve with J.D. And Roy also serves on the
Texas Association of Counties Leadership Foundation presents the 2009 Best Practices Awards, celebrating delivery of services in county government. Delivery of Services Awards honor programs that provide an enhanced level of service that exceeds established performance standards. Tired of wasting money and space jailing those who are not paying their child support, Tarrant County asked Extension Agent Marion Ross for some true financial aid, a budgeting class geared toward showing non-custodial parents how to include child support in their daily spending plans. The class uses a bean spending game to illustrate real-life budgeting decisions.
Part of managing money is knowing what you're doing, and a lot of us don't learn that any longer in high school. And so if you've never been to a really formal educational class and learn about a spending plan. It's really hard to incorporate it. It is the hardest money management tool to use, and so learning how to incorporate setting aside money for child support every month really does help them make a difference in how their payback is going.
The money management class is mandatory for those parents who are behind or in arrears on child support, with a penalty of time in jail if the class is missed.
The main lesson I teach is it may not seem like it's going to work, but you need to try it to see, and how to compromise and make changes to what you're spending. I'm not saying give up everything forever, but just try to manage and change how you spend your money. It can make a difference if you're willing to let go of satellite or cable for a couple of months. It can help catch you up. And the second message I kind of teach is to save money for themselves if something should happen.
More than 1,200 residents have attended the class.
The real power behind this class is people walking out the door saying, I think I can do this, and they're willing to try it.
Let me ask Judge Swearingen and his staff to come up and present theirs first, and then we'll do Ms. Ross's.
Y'all won't be bashful, all of you, come on up.
John wants to come up.
Judge, on behalf of the Texas Association Leadership Foundation, I will be providing a plaque for the county on behalf of the county.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here, and I certainly appreciate the court receiving this award. I will tell you, delivery of services begins with, is sustained by, and finishes the day with quality people. And I want you to know that I'm very fortunate to have in my court the best staff of any of the courts. There's these ladies standing here. I'd like to especially recognize Liz, who's put up with me. This is Liz. Raise your hand, Liz. She's put up with me as we've developed this program along the way, and she's become the stable rock there that I know makes this work. But I will tell you that this program would not be a success if I didn't have some of the finest mediators and people who are willing to take a chance and come to my court on this idea and put it together for me, day in and day out. It began really with Tom Atterbury and Lancaster Smith. They're here. And then from that point, almost immediately, the success of the program proved itself, and I brought in Tom Quinona as a local attorney, and then Dr. Jim Greenstone and Dr. Sharon Greenstone, and she's here today too. And again, without them being here and believing in mediation and what it can accomplish to help people, this would not happen. And so, on behalf of all of them, I accept this award, and I thank you all.
Well, we want to thank y'all again. Thank each one of y'all again very much for what you do and the way you do it.
And then let me call Marion Ross and her staff up to accept the award.
Y'all turn around. Kay's trying to get a picture back. Elaine's trying to get a picture back there. Hold on a second, Kay. Y'all all get up here. Wait a minute. There's more coming.
Okay, I can't do this alone, and my team doesn't want to come up, so maybe I'll embarrass them on TV.
They're behind you.
Okay, I'm real excited. Everyone knows this is Donna Larson, and this is Sonia McCormick, and Jenny Kirkland, and Laura Ramos. Laura and Sonia are with me in the room. They kind of help keep crowd control going. And so I can't do this alone. This is my team of folks that I work with over at DRO to make it happen. I do want to thank the court for the support. I had to track down Judge Whitley to sign the award. He was on his way to Austin. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for making the recommendation the day before to get the award in by 5 o'clock on Wednesday. I can do that. And we did. So, and to Jim Duff, he ran over there at the last minute and did the taping of the class so that we could have it presented. So, real exciting. Thank you all so much for your support of the Texas AgriLife Extension Service here in Tarrant County.
Thank you all for all that you do. Thank you very much.
Do you have the right pose? Do I have the right pose?
And I just want to say thank you, because without our court's leadership, none of the departments in Tarrant County would be able to do this. So all of you deserve a pat on the back for what you provide to us. Having won 4 of these myself, I would like to challenge the rest of the county to win 6 more yet next year, so we have 5 of these books to go through. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you very much.
You know, I do want to thank Commissioner Johnson. I want to thank Betsy and everybody really for all the work that you do. And it's kind of work. It's that second mile work. It's work that you don't, you know, many times you don't do between 8 and 5, but you do it because you're dedicated to, in this particular situation, the citizens, but also really outside of the area. And your leadership at TAC has meant an awful lot to the entire state, and we may not thank you enough for it, but we appreciate everything you do in that regard.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We now have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, on item number 1, this concerns the nomination of candidates for the Tarrant Appraisal District's Board of Directors. I have not received any recommendations from the Court on this. I would point out that you don't have an obligation to make a recommendation, though you do have the authority to appoint or to nominate 5 individuals. Our current membership on the board is listed in your court communication, and if you would like, you could nominate those again.
I would like to nominate the existing members of the board.
I'll second, with the understanding that if my taxes go up 10% again next year, I'm going to vote against all 5 of them. It's gone up 10% in the last 2 years in a row.
And it will the 3rd year, too.
Pardon me?
And it will
Because
the 3rd year, too.
your being out there in that area has brought up the property values.
I live out in the country.
But everybody wants to live out there with you.
I am aware that 2 members that are on the current board do not wish to be reappointed. John Eubanks and John Clanton. I've been told that.
John who?
I did not. John
Clanton.
Clanton.
Okay.
John Clanton, definitely, and I'm not sure about John Eubanks.
John Eubanks.
I know that Mr. Clanton.
John, I talked to John. He does not. I have not talked to Mr. Clanton, but John and I talked. He told me he did not care to be reappointed, and he told me that Mr. Clanton had made a public announcement at a meeting back in the summer
Yes.
that he did not want to
Yes,
be appointed.
Mr. Clanton has announced that he is retiring, and Mr. Eubanks was toying with it. So
He told me yesterday that he did not want to be reappointed.
Well, that's
So
news
do
to
we
us.
need to withdraw our motion then?
Yeah, or change it
Does
to
this have to
eliminate
go
those
into
2
that?
names?
Yes.
It has to go into that, yes.
In that regard, then, I would nominate Mr. Jim Austin for one of those spots.
I'll agree with that.
Okay, so your motion now is,
I have one.
well, then let's wait.
Okay.
Let's pull that other motion off
Right.
back, and then let's talk.
Tommy Brown from North Christian Hills had expressed interest back when we had an opening a few months ago. Both of these members are from Northeast that are coming off. I certainly would like to see somebody from Northeast go back on.
Okay, so now what we've got, well, I think the names I've heard mentioned so far were Joe Potoff, Tommy Brown, Jim Austin, John Molinax, and Michael Gillespie.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
That'll be evenly distributed between those 5?
Yep.
Our votes.
Well, we'll appoint them at this time, and then I guess there'll be a list that will come back that may be more than those 5, and then we can, at that point in time, decide how we distribute the votes.
This is just a nomination.
It's just a nomination right now.
All right.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Members of the Court, we can now go to item 2.
Staff is requesting that the court approve the Tarrant County 911 Emergency Assistance District's proposed 2009-2010 budget. You might recall that this came to us at one time. It did include raises. The proposed budget at this time does not include any funding for employee raises for the next fiscal year.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, I'm going to ask Ms. Patterson to come up and talk to you about item number 3.
Morning.
Good morning, Melissa.
Commissioner, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. I'm going to ask for approval after I tell you a little bit about the program that we've been working with since 2003. Since 2003, the Homeland Security Grant Program has been in existence, and since then, with the acceptance of this award, we'll be at $4.9 million in just Tarrant County government alone. So just a couple of the projects I wanted to mention that we've done really well on. Most of the projects are continuation projects and not new projects, so that you understand that we are keeping the momentum up. Countywide Citizens Corps programs, this sponsors not only our Medical Reserve Corps with Tarrant County Public Health, but also our CERT teams out there, our Citizens Emergency Response Teams. And those are really important when we're having disaster response. The North Texas Crisis Communication System, as you know, anytime we have something going on, we get press releases from all over the region. This is part of a regional group, the North Texas Communicators. It's a system that's going to allow them to work together so that when we're doing these public education pieces, so that we're making these announcements, we're doing it in what they call one voice. We're saying the same thing across the board to everybody. The third one is SERPA, Southern Emergency Response and Preparedness Association. Commissioner Brooks, those guys are mostly in your precinct. Those cities are our hazmat guys, our swiftwater rescue guys. As you know, in the past we've had, and actually just in the past few days, some swiftwater rescues from flooding as it goes downhill. We have hazmat incidents all the time, especially with the drilling sites. You know, sometimes they have to go out and monitor. So that fund is going to pay for additional equipment, but most importantly, it's going to pay for continuing education on that equipment. We need for these guys to be able to function at 100% when they're there, so the better they can be refreshed on it, the better off we'll be. The fourth one is to enhance our current program. We have expanded the program. I think we've done really well since we started. I hope this serves as part of a continuing good report to you that we're doing a good job. We're expanding our EOC operations. We're teaching the public. Part of teaching the public is to increase our response and preparedness through citizen response and preparedness. So if they can help us take care of them, we'll do a better job. That also includes the costs that we're using to cover our emergency notification systems and any additional training that our leadership or you guys may need in the way of those classes. So whenever I ask, you know, if you've done the classes, that's what we're supporting is continuing to keep this money in. Commissioner Ravensway, your classes are fine. Okay, thank you.
The Public Health Prime Mover for number 5. I wanted to mention this especially so that you understand that across the board, through all the disciplines, emergency management is interacting with everyone else that's involved in taking care of the public. This Prime Mover is going to help move the trailers that hold the pod equipment, the point of dispensing sites, which has really been forefront in the past couple of weeks, especially with the H1N1 response. And then finally, UWASI Planning Urban Area Security Initiative. We do have 2 of the largest urban areas in Texas within the county, so we work with them closely to ensure that we are doing across-the-board planning and working with those guys on communities. And I think that brings the Super Bowl to the forefront of the table in the way of planning for the next year. So, I would like to ask that the Commissioners Court accept the FY 2009 Homeland Security Grant Award in the amount of $917,022.50 and approve the subrecipient agreement with the Texas Division of Emergency Management.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Melissa. Ms. Tidwell.
This morning, we're asking that the Commissioners Court approve the release of approximately $49,730,000 of collateral as requested in the attached letter. The county's remaining deposits with the depository will still be adequately secured.
Move approval.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Glenn.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning.
I have two items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
On item number 2, we're asking the court to approve some plan changes for employee and retiree health care benefits plan in 2010. The court may recall that we came back to you in September and had, I think, a pretty lengthy discussion about retiree and employee cost share and did actually have the court approve rates. What we told you at that time is that we would bring back to you some plan changes once those had been approved at the board level to bring back to the court. And so we're at that point. So if you'll flip with me to actually your Exhibit A1, which should be the first document that follows your court communique, we've highlighted a couple of the plan changes that we're recommending for 2010. The first item, number 1, you'll see the medical plan offerings for 2010. And what you should notice right away is that the HMO plan is not there. As we've talked about in prior meetings, the HMO plan will not be offered to employees in 2010. We still, of course, will offer the EPO, PPO plans, as well as our opt-out benefit. Just so that the court is aware, as we are actually going through the processes that we go through to prepare for enrollment, one of the things that we'll be doing is we'll actually be what we call defaulting all of our HMO participants to the EPO plan. And of course, that will be communicated to employees in their packets. We are actually in the process of scheduling meetings for the first 2 weeks in November, which will be the same time period that we'll be going through enrollment. So what we'll be communicating to employees is that those who were in the HMO plans, when they open up their benefit screens, and of course everybody should do that this year because we are having some pretty significant changes, is that they'll see the EPO plan. And if they want to change from the EPO plan, of course, then they can make that election during enrollment. Number 2, dental plan offerings. We're having some pretty significant changes there as well. Currently, the county's dental plan, and recall this is the plan where you have free choice. You can access dentists who are in the Carrington network today or dentists who are not. So this is a pretty popular dental plan. The primary change with this plan is that Carrington will no longer be the network provider. The network provider next year will be Delta Dental. And Delta Dental will also provide administrative services. So that's going to be a complete shift away from what we do currently. I can tell you that the Delta Dental network is quite a bit larger than the Carrington network, and so again, our hope there is that employees who are interested, not interested because we're all interested in choice, but more motivated by choice, will actually have more dentists to select from. So that'll be a pretty big plan change for next year. The other dental offering today, we do offer what we call a dental HMO through Safeguard. That will change as well in next year. We are going to be replacing Safeguard with Assurant, which is another DMO plan. And we'll do the same here. We'll default all of our Safeguard participants to the Assurant plan. And of course, employees can certainly change that election if they so choose. I'm pretty excited to tell you about option 3. This is a new offering to our employees that we've not offered in the past. This is a standalone vision plan. You see the rates that are there in your court communique or your Exhibit A1. They're pretty, I think, pretty low rates. Employees, if they elect to, and this is completely voluntary, can cover themselves and their family for $14.19 a month. And you have a couple of pages that follow that give you a pretty good summary, I think, of what what we call a VSP, our VSP vision plan, will allow our employees to enjoy. Employees can go through to one of these network providers and have an eye exam for a $30 copay. There's a lens benefit, there's a frame benefit, contacts, and so it's a pretty comprehensive plan. There are no pre-existing condition exclusions. Anybody who wants in can have in. Now, the courts should understand that this will impact the medical plan, because today there is what we call a refraction benefit that's provided in our medical plans. And so the medical plans actually are going to change next year, so that refraction benefit will not be there. And as we sort of chuckle about at the board meeting, you know, that's the exam where you go and the doctor has you look through the things that look like binoculars and they flip them back, 1, 2, 1, 2, which is better. That's called a refraction exam. And so that exam now is under this VSP plan. It is no longer a part of the medical plan. We did actually have the executive director take a look to see how many employees actually utilize the refraction benefit under the medical plan, and for all of the PEBC agencies combined, there were about 200. So it has not been a widely utilized benefit, but the benefit still exists. It will be in this VSP vision plan for 2010. Any questions about the changes on Exhibit A1? Okay, and I did mention the next few pages, again, just sort of summarize in a lot more detail than I've just covered the VSP plan. If you go with me next to Exhibit A2, some other changes that we're proposing for 2010, which I think our employees are going to be excited about, under the EPO plan. In today's world, our EPO participants select a PCP, a primary care provider. That won't change. We still want employees to select a PCP. We want that to happen because we want to ensure to the degree possible that employees use in-network providers, because that's where we get the deepest discounts and our employees have the least out-of-pocket cost. However, there will no longer be a requirement that employees or that referrals have to happen through the PCP. So that goes away, which will make this very similar to the PPO plan. So you have a PCP, but you're not required to get a referral to a specialist from the PCP. If you look at the directory and there's a specialist who's in network, then there's no referral required. The employee calls and schedules the appointment. So I think that's a pretty exciting change. One additional thing that we're proposing on the EPO plan is that we actually offer an out-of-network benefit that does not currently exist. In today's world, if you're on the EPO plan and you accidentally or intentionally go out of network, then those services are not going to be provided unless it's an emergency. Emergency services are always covered. So we thought with all of the plan changes that we're making, this provides a little bit of protection for those employees who might forget, might get a little bit confused. So there's still going to be a level of benefit, or there will be a level of benefits. It will be 60-40. So that does not exist today, so we're excited about that. Item number 3, we did a lot of grappling since the HMO plan will not be offered for 2010, and so there was a lot of discussion about the best way to transition ourselves away from the HMO plan. And so there was a lot of discussion, you know, what should we charge for inpatient hospital copays? Should we change that on the EPO plan, since we're going to be absorbing potentially HMO members? And so here's what we're proposing. We're proposing for inpatient hospital copays, a $150 copay per day with a maximum of $600. In today's world, the EPO plan, there's a 90-10 share arrangement. So employees pay 10%, the plan pays 90%. It's capped at $1,750. So again, we'd be moving away from the co-insurance to a copay situation that I've just described. Same is true for outpatient hospital copay. We propose a $300 copay per procedure, and again, move away from the 90/10 current cost share arrangement. On the PPO medical plan, we are proposing to eliminate the out-of-area in-network benefit, primarily because it's not used very often. We would propose to actually shift that cost share from 70/30 to 80/20. So it's not that it's going away. We would actually propose to revise it so that the plan actually pays a little bit more and employees pay a little bit less. Any questions on those before I move to the bottom half? Bottom half, more good news. We're recommending the discontinuation of pre-existing conditions limitations. Those have been in existence on the EPO and the PPO plan, and that basically means that for a period of time, if an employee had a pre-existing condition or dependent, then we wouldn't provide coverage for those benefits. Well, we would provide coverage, but it would be limited to $1,500. So that goes away. So basically what we're proposing is that employees and their dependents be able to enter our plans without concerns that their certain conditions would not be covered. And I just mentioned number 2, of course, with the creation or with the proposal of the new vision plan, then refraction services then are going to be removed from our medical plan. Item 3, we would propose to increase the $2 million lifetime limit to $4 million. And believe it or not, we've had a couple of cases that have gotten pretty close to the $2 million. Number 4, we're just proposing to clarify some language. As the court recalls, we came to you earlier this year to talk about a dependent audit. We will be conducting an audit of all of our dependents following enrollment. And this language just hopefully will help to clarify for our employees who are covered dependents and who are not. Foster care children are not intended to be covered on our plans, nor have they ever been. Foster care children remain in the custody of the state, and of course the state provides those services. And then number 5, again, just additional, again, clarification. We oftentimes have employees that can cover their kids under the CHIPS program, and so this just gives them a wider window to actually get all of the documentation in so that we can then move those dependents from our plan to the CHIP program. So that's what we're proposing in item 5. The next section, I'll go through this really quickly, dental plan changes. Number 1, we currently have for the county's dental plan, or in the county's dental plan, major services are not covered for 12 months, which has been a point of contention for many of us. And what we are proposing in the way of a change is actually a 6-month wait period rather than a 12-month wait period. And major services include, for example, crowns, dentures, bridges. Those are considered major services. Orthodontia will still have a 12-month wait period. Number 2, we're proposing that the $1,500 per person per year maximum plan limit, and again, this is the county dental plan, that it not include preventative care services, meaning we want preventative care outside of the $1,500 max. So again, that's a benefit for employees. And we are proposing to actually cover dental implants under our plan, and they are not currently covered. Dental implants are extremely expensive. So we would like to propose just some level of benefit for our employees. And then our final proposed change deals with our cafeteria plan elections. And this plan simply says that if an employee, for example, elects $1,200 benefit and has an event that occurs where they want to change that election, and that happens. Sometimes employees are divorced. They get divorced, and so the $1,200 may have been allocated for the employee and the spouse. There's no longer a spouse. The employee may want to reduce that or eliminate it. And what this simply does, employees still can do that. But if we've paid the employee $1,200, if that's already been reimbursed from their account, then the employee is on the hook for the $1,200. And that does not exist today. So we think fair is fair. The other exhibits, B1, B2, B3, we don't need to discuss those, though, unless you have questions, of course. Those are contribution rates that we've already discussed with you and that you've approved. We wanted you just to have those there in case you had questions. And the last exhibit is Exhibit C, and here we've tried to capture all of our proposed plan year costs or cost year estimates for 2010, and it looks like we're going to be a little bit above $49 million for total plan costs for 2010. And that number goes up pretty significantly from year to year. So I'll take questions if you have questions. And again, what we're asking the court today is to approve Exhibits A1 and A2.
When will you start with the education process for the employees?
We're planning to do that, Commissioner, the first 2 weeks in November, which is when we have enrollment. We've already reserved meeting space here in the downtown area. We've reserved some time in the courtroom, at the Plaza Building, Family Law Center, and of course, we're planning to go out and have meetings at some of the sub-courthouses. So we're in the process of scheduling all of those meetings, but we're looking at the actual time being the first 2 weeks of November.
How about the precinct garages?
Yes, sir, we're planning to schedule. Have we scheduled those already? Those have been scheduled already.
Well, you said some of the sub-courthouses, you will not be going to all of them?
What have we scheduled already?
We'll be going to all the sub-courthouses.
Okay.
Are those dates known now?
It'll be the first 2 weeks of November.
When will you have the firm dates for each particular courthouse and maintenance facility?
This week.
What now?
We should have
This
those
week?
by the end
Okay.
of this week.
Thank you.
And again, that information, typically we send the information out via email. And at this time of the year, employees hopefully will pay attention because we're getting close to enrollment. But the meeting schedules will also be in the packets that we'll send to employees as well. So we'll do what we can to communicate as often as we can about the plan changes and about opportunities for employees to come out and actually hear firsthand about those changes and ask questions if they have questions.
Can they go to the website now and see the updated information?
No, the updated information will not be online with PBC until November 2nd. As far as the packets are typically always distributed right around Halloween. And so we scheduled the countywide meetings the first 2 weeks in November, so hopefully employees will have their packets in hand by then. In addition to that, we'll be sending out a countywide email to announce those meetings. And we're also sending our benefit summary statements. That's a little one-pager that shows what you have today. We'll be mailing that out this weekend, actually, and it will include a list of the meetings.
What about our retirees?
We are planning meetings for our retirees. We have not held countywide meetings for active employees in the last several years because we've not had significant changes. But clearly this time around, we do have significant changes. Same would be true, Commissioner, for our retirees. Now, we've not had meetings in the probably last 8 years with our retirees, but we are planning to have meetings with our retirees as well, because of course they will be impacted as well. For example, our retirees who are under 65, who currently are in the HMO plan, then that won't be obviously available to them either. And they love meetings. They'll come.
And there's one thing I would like to add about how we're going to handle those people who are currently in the HMO and the people who are currently in Safeguard. During annual enrollment, they will be defaulted. The HMO participants, like Ms. Glenn explained, will go into the EPO medical plan, and Safeguard participants will go into the new Assurant plan. Of course, you have to actively go into the ESS screens if you want to change that. But I also ask about what about the doctors, because you do have to name a primary care physician with the EPO. And if your HMO doctor is in the HealthSmart network, you will be assigned to that doctor. So that will be automatic. And the same will be true for Safeguard. if your safeguard dentist that you're signed up with is in the Assurant network, then you will automatically be assigned with that provider selection. So we're really trying to do as much as we can to place people where we think they will make those choices so that we have as few disconnects as possible.
Do you anticipate any changes in the doctor directories between now and November, or if folks were looking at the doctors, they could go in and look and see?
I think what we've sort of jokingly but really seriously said, those providers are as good as the day that they're printed because they change the very next day. Somebody new comes on, somebody drops off of the plan. So we will have directories, but what we've always encouraged employees to do is to go a step further. Typically, they can access that information online so that they can actually call just to confirm that the doctor dentist is still in the plan. They can always call doctor dentist office. They can always call plan administrator. So, I would not, and we never have advised employees to rely solely on, the directories because they're outdated a minute after they're printed. So, it's there to use as a resource, but we always encourage employees to do some additional checks just to be certain. But as far as I know, Judge, we've not had any huge problems with that kind of thing.
And those networks are so broad, I think most of the providers are going to be overlaps.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Move approval of the plan changes for employee and retiree health care benefits.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clem. Rachel.
How about them hogs?
Suey. We have two items for your consideration this morning, Your Honor, other members of the court. Our first item is bid award recommendation for RFP number 2009-142. This is an annual contract for our on-site response and maintenance of our storage technology automated tape equipment. Recommendation is to award to CHE Consulting Incorporated, amount of $15,915.72. We would like to request delay for consideration of the contract approval for a week. We actually have some problems with some of the dates referenced in the contract.
Okay. Move approval of the award recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the award recommendation on this item. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And so next week we'll have the contract approval on the agenda?
Just a slight change. Our second and last item is a bid award recommendation for bid number 2009-155. This is our semi-annual contract for copy, paper, and stock computer forms. Our recommendation will be to award on a per unit price basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in your court communique. We did receive two bids from Olmsted Kirk Paper and Quill Corporation, and they were unable to hold the 6-month required contract term that were in the specifications. So we would recommend rejection of those two bids.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Ms. Lamb. Whoops, Mr. Skinner.
Members of the court, we are requesting your approval of a renewal agreement for several projects that are included in the 2006 Transportation Bond Program. Specifically, those projects include the Denver Trail Extension, the widening of Callender Road, improvements to the interchange of Great Southwest Parkway and Interstate 20, as well as Great Southwest Parkway and Mayfield, the Lake Ridge Parkway widening, and the extension of Lynn Creek, Euless Grapevine Stone Myers widening, and the Longhorn Road widening as well.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any appointments?
We need to remove Alan Levy from the in the IT steering committee and replace him with Bob Gill. That's per Joe Shannon's request.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Any other appointments? You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have one item to bring to the court this morning. This is the update on the H1N1 influenza. Ms. Brewer is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Last week, I talked to you about 3 categories of immunizations and vaccines. I wanted to give you an update first on that, and then see if you had any questions, and Dr. Parker is here also. We talked about back-to-school immunizations last week, and the fact that despite a 30-day extension, we were well beyond that, and we were still seeing many people trying to get their back-to-school immunizations. What we did last week to address that issue, we had a special event last Wednesday. We did over 600 back-to-school immunizations. We had another special event on Saturday. We did 301. We are waiting for an update today. Since school was not in session yesterday, we're waiting for an update from the schools in terms of how many they estimate are still out. However, we are seeing relief in our clinics. That was part of our concern last week. We didn't want to be competing with the seasonal flu in the clinics. We do have 2 lines running at all of our clinics today with separate staff, one to do back to school should that be needed, and one to do seasonal flu vaccine. That seems to be working well, and we have seen a smaller number of back to school people showing up. That's back to school. Seasonal flu, we did a drive-through exercise on Friday, despite the weather, at the Birdville Coliseum. We started outside, then we went inside, then we came back outside, according to what the weather was doing, and despite all of that, we did 345 seasonal flu vaccines. So we were able to give out seasonal flu vaccine and exercise our point of distribution program. We also have seasonal flu being given in our clinics, as I mentioned before. It is going quickly, and there are different categories of the vaccine based on age and the type of vaccine. So my suggestion to people at this point is to call before you go to make sure that we have the type that you're looking for and is compatible to your population. And then H1N1, we have no new vaccine. As of the moment I left the building, I had no emails, and my staff was not aware of any new vaccine coming in at this time. Recall last week that we received 500 doses of Flu Mist. Out of that, we gave 200 doses to Cook Children's, and we're awaiting a report back from them on that. We gave 200 doses to JPS. As of Friday, we were told that 75 staff members received direct health care providers of the target populations, and they were in the process of giving the rest to the children in their clinics. And then, as you've seen in the news and as we reported, we are in the process of giving 100 doses to our sheltered children. And so far, today, we have been to Union Gospel, the Presbyterian Night Shelter, and Arlington Family Life, and we're hoping to do the Fort Worth and Arlington Salvation Army tonight, because that's when they're back in the shelter, so that's why we're going at night. I'll stop and see if you have any questions at this point.
Any questions?
It all sounds good to me.
Thanks, Lou. Appreciate it. Dr. Parker, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Your Honor, we do have one additional presentation, and that concerns item B. This is the capital improvement program. We're beginning to give the court a weekly update on the various projects. Mr. Phillips is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This has to do with the new jail project included in the 2006 capital improvement program. The construction drawings were delivered to Tarrant County from Gideon Toll on September 24th. Those drawings are now being reviewed by facilities management staff, Sheriff's Department, Gil Bain, and they have been delivered to the City of Fort Worth for plan review. Here in the next week or so, we'll be sending these documents down to Austin for review for the Texas Commission on Jail Standards once we make sure there's no bugs in the weeds. Regarding the City of Fort Worth permitting process, the project did pass the City of Fort Worth Downtown Design Review Board approval. We did receive a certificate of appropriateness, which is one of the hurdles to securing a building permit.
We should have received a merit award.
Yes.
I have to agree.
The next little hurdle we have now is with the City of Fort Worth Water Department working through some upsizing of off-site utilities. They would like to extend some of the utilities a couple of blocks to feed our new building, and we're working through some of those things right now. I have some photos for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's really nice.
Clarence Presley suggested several months ago that we should build a inmate cell mock-up for our different cell sizes to reduce the potential of changes during construction and after construction. So we did. We have $37,000 invested in these mock-ups. We built 3 wood mock-ups at the Cold Springs Jail Facility on Cold Springs Road. These represent the single and separation cell mock-ups. I'd like to just give you a list of the folks who it took to get these things built, designed and built. Of course, Clarence Presley who came up with the idea. Bob Knowles, who's there for design expertise. Billy Patton and Mark Owens from my staff. Also Danny Lingle from the Corrections Center. Mark Starr with Broadus and KAI project managers. Of course, the Kevin Crumpler and Don Olson, who are the architects. And we had lots of engineers involved. Brian Richards and many other mechanical and electrical engineers from Summit Consulting. Brett Privet and his staff did the air balancing. And, of course, our annual contract, mechanical, electrical, and fire alarm contractors who actually did some of the infrastructure work. I'd like to thank my carpenter staff out on Commerce, Rove, who actually did the building of these mock-ups, and also Tarrant County Purchasing for helping us to build these, get these things done. Some of the things we do with these mock-ups is we check lighting levels, we check the configuration of the cells regarding how the fixtures line up with or the location of the bunk, the tables, and so on and so forth. The fire alarm system and the smoke purge is one of the main reasons we built these mock-ups to simulate the air movement in these things. The flooring, the intercoms, and the door, and of course the paint colors. We actually selected the paint colors, and that's Dove White, as you see there today. On the first little photo, that's just an indication of what's behind the house. Of course, that's a wood structure. Our cells will be actually concrete on top, bottom, and sides. And this represents a smoke detector in the back of the house and the mechanical chase. And the main objective we have, like I said before, is our smoke purge. We have actually simulated smoke removal and air conditioning supply and things of that nature, fire detection. We have put smoke bombs into this particular cells. We detect within 30 seconds and required to detect within 1 minute. We're detecting within 30 seconds, and we're removing the smoke in about 4 minutes, which the requirement is about 15 minutes. This thing, we think our smoke purge system will pull the hair off a tennis ball.
You don't want to get anywhere near that.
No, I was too close last time, Judge. And we have I have a lot of confidence in our smoke purge system because we have the same engineers that we had when we designed 350, the renovation, and Green Bay. And Jail Standards believes those are model smoke purge fire detection systems. So I have a lot of confidence in the way that's working. We have over 60 smoke purge and exhaust, supply and exhaust fans in this building. We'll be able to purge the whole building at once if we had to.
I want to commend you for that. I recall, just as I came on as a new commissioner, we were confronted with some very significant smoke purge issues in our new jail.
Yes.
So this is really very impressive to be taking this kind of a...
We certainly can't guarantee we won't have things that go wrong. We certainly can pick the low-hanging fruit right here. We think we've got the location selected of all the fixtures, and more importantly is the actual location of the ducts and exhaust systems.
One of the things that surprises me a little bit is the fact that the lights are not recessed and that there's actually something that they might be able to get a hold of, or I would have expected that to be up in the ceiling with some sort of a...
We try to minimize the size of the fenestrations in a cell, and recessing it and putting it inside so they can punch it out. We don't... I haven't seen that particular application. This is a surface mount unit, which is a several $100 detention facility. And
They
it has...
can't get out of that electrical hole.
No,
Versus a big hole?
Yeah, we've got a couple of lights, and those particular lights put out about a little over 20-foot candles at the sink, which is that's why we set the lights in there like we did.
David, are you said these cells are concrete. Are those poured in place? Or
They will be poured in place.
Poured in place.
Yes.
On your water, or your sprinkler head, I'm assuming that that's something that can't be messed with?
That's a shower head.
Shower head.
On number 3, I'm sure it'll be messed with.
Okay, shower head.
Yes.
So
that's a shower head. We got a variance for not install any sprinklers in the cells themselves from jail standards. It's in the regulations and from the City of Fort Worth Fire Department. We have the building is fully sprinklered, but not in the cells themselves.
So that, okay.
That particular
shower pan on the floor?
That is a poured in place application after we come in, after they pour the main floor, because we're not sure exactly where the drains are going to show up, because it's a pan joist system for the structure, and we're going to punch holes, and we're not sure exactly where that's going to go just yet. So they'll pour this shower pan, and it's an epoxy coated, and it'll be 2 or 3 inches high. It'll slope toward the drain, and what you don't see here, Commissioner, is a nice panel for, I'm going to call it a modesty panel. You don't see it built just yet, but that shower head, one thing about the shower head and the sink and the toilet, they're on electronic controls, which they can control from the security control room on that floor, the number of minutes and the amount of water that comes out of those particular fixtures. So
they can't stop up the shower and flood the floor.
I'm sure they can do that.
We purposely put these electronic devices, and we've tried out in our existing facilities where they can control and let the toilet flush so many times a minute or so many times an hour. And that's the goal, is to keep from having floods. On the photo number 4, you get to see the concrete bunk, and there's not much there to go wrong. On to the right, there's a writing surface and a table. Bob Knowles designed it. My staff built it. That is built by Danny Ringel in our kitchen. He's a welder, and that is the design we'll be using for our writing surfaces. It's required for requirement of jail standards. Photo 5 is just to give you a feel for the complexity of what it took just to get that thing to do what it needed to do. Number 6, 7, and 8 represents about one of those doors is about $6,000. Now that door's got a lot of things in it. On photo 8, you see a little red button toward the right. That's a door ajar button, so the officer can look down the row and see if any of the lights are on. He can make sure there's no light shrunk. If it's on, the door's open, even if it's kind of cracked a little bit. And the food chute also doubles as a cuff pass, they call it, so they can, theoretically, that particular inmate can back up to a cuff pass, get cuffed, and just slide on out and go on down to go see the judge. That's the theory in it, but it also doubles as a food chute. This particular door has a built-in intercom, and a neat feature, if you go back to photo 4, on the left side of that door frame, there's a little button, and it's nothing more than a bolt. It's a touch bolt. The inmate touches it, it sends a signal to the security control, and it doesn't move, have any moving parts. It's all electronic. They don't have to, the ones we have now, they pretty well damage daily, but this is a touch bolt. They can go touch it, and it automatically sends a signal to security control where they start talking back and forth. The intercom itself, not like we have in our inmates' cells today, the intercom is, you can't really see it very well, but there's some holes in the door frame. The intercom's on the inside of the door frame. And the goal is to minimize the number of times we have to go in the cell. Now, we do have to put, it's something you don't see here, we do have to put a smoke detector on the inside of the cell in the ceiling just to make sure we have full detection, because we're not sure just one's going to do it. So that is going to be a maintenance issue. We can't get around. We do have to put a smoke detector on the inside.
The same thing that you have in the picture one?
It's the same.
Backside?
Same sort of thing. We have a guard around it, and the most heavy-duty, Super Duty guard we can get. I'm sure it won't work good enough for those folks, but that's kind of what we've done. We're still working through some of the. They're making changes on this now. We're adding some features to it today, and they'll be added maybe in an addendum to the project when it bids, hopefully in December, if everything goes well with our review now and with jail standards. If not, I feel real confident we'll advertise in January for sure.
These mock-ups are where,
Commissioner, they're on the second floor of the old side of Cold Springs. This is the floor, this is the area that we're not being used as a jail. It's the old school area built in the 50s, and we're using the area as storage. So we removed some of the things and built these mock-ups up there.
I think Judge Whitley's the one that brought up the light fixture situation, but what type of lights do we have up there now? I can't recall, but these look like a disaster going to happen.
We'll certainly take a look at it again. I think we have these same type of lights throughout our system. These are surface-mounted lights, and they're somewhat durable. Somewhat durable.
But right underneath it, they have a perfect climbing.
That's what I mean, if you just moved it back to where they'd have to jump up to hit it.
It might reduce the number
But
of...
has to do a lot with the lumens and the foot candles to get it on. They have to have so many light on the sink area and the writing surface. That's why
How
we have
thick
to.
is the ceiling?
I'm sure it's at least 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches.
I'm not concerned about prisoners getting out. I'm just concerned about them tearing these up and pulling
Sure.
wires loose and somebody being injured.
We'll certainly take another look at that. That's all I had on the jail today.
So they can see.
Thank you.
I'm
Next week is, which building?
Whichever you like. Medical examiner, maybe?
The kind of catch-alls, maybe the medical examiner, juvenile, whatever our other...
I'd love to get them all done at once. It'd be good for me.
Well, no,
I can get them all
we
here.
can do civil courts, and then we'll do the catch-up as kind of the...
Certainly.
Wait a minute, I think Marty had a question.
No, I don't have a question. I just wanted to make a comment about the excellent work that the carpenter shop did for some, I don't know what the proper terminology is, but additional cabinetry that we needed
Yes.
in the new Arlington Sub-Courthouse. It's beautiful.
Right.
Excellent job. It looks like it came with it.
They take a lot of pride in their work. Thank you very much.
And I guess with regard to what you're telling us right now is the city of Fort Worth, and unfortunately, I think Reed left. But our next, we're waiting on approval from the city right now?
Yes, they have the documents in plan review, which I would think is going to take at least 6 weeks. That's my thoughts. I'm really more concerned about some of those hurdles we have to get to a building permit. One of them happens to be the encroachment. The Commissioners Court approved an encroachment agreement with the city of Fort Worth back last summer, and that encroachment agreement deals with things like the grease trap that has to encroach on right away, some of the tunnel, the sky bridge, and things of that nature. They are tying that back into the encroachment needs to be approved before the permit would be released. And we've been meeting, my staff has been meeting with City of Fort Worth folks. It has to do now, they want to upsize some of their utilities down Weatherford Street and redo some other things. And we've been working with them about a year, and we're just, I guess now that we have some good concrete finalized drawings, they're really seeing some stuff now. I think we'll get these things worked out before we need to call in and anybody else to help us, but I think we're in good shape.
I don't think it would hurt maybe to at least give the city manager a heads up, and as we talk with folks, just that, this stuff's down here and that we really need to kind of let their folks know right ahead of time that we really don't want to slow this thing down. And because I think if we wait till a week before.
Right. We probably wouldn't want to do that, but we think it would take at least 6 weeks for their normal development department review. They have several departments that has to go through, Transportation, Public Works, and Fire Department, and all those folks. And it's a very complicated 500-page
How often
document.
are we calling them to ask them where they are in the process?
I'm leaving that up to they've only had this a couple of weeks. I wasn't going to bother them just yet. I was going to give them another week or so.
Do you know what our cost is? Is there a plan review cost plus a building fee? Permit fee?
We do not have to pay building permit fees or plan review costs for the city of Fort Worth. There's an ordinance back in 1993 that the city council approved.
We paid building
Very extensive cost and plan review.
It would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, my guess. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
That's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
This time, the court will
one to start with.
recess the open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076. Having returned from closed session and there being no business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned.
So Roy can go have lunch.
Can you see if you can name?
That's because she didn't bring enough